Once upon a time, pranks were, at their worst, swirlies and wedgies, and at their best, whoopee cushions, hand buzzers, and telescoped with inked eyepieces. Alas, such small potatoes rotted with the rise of YouTube and social media, morphing the pranking culture into something decidedly less fun and way more public, focused on humiliation and shame on a global scale, all in the name of content. But far from being contained to the internet, this new sensibility has permeated all pop culture and media. As such, it should come as no surprise that the majority of the films on this list are from the 21st century. Horror cinema in particular offers the opportunity to frame the new prank culture in a novel way, with dire repercussions coming part and parcel. Halloween interrogates the errors of dressing up as a serial killer, Candyman gives us good reason never to throw the bee baron's name around in jest, and the butterfly effect demonstrates the dangers of messing with the post. In short, each of these films contains a fateful prank that leads to big, killer-shaped consequences, with many providing a commentary on the culture as a whole. I'm Sean Ferrig for What Culture Horror, and I'm here to tell you 10 movies where pranks brutally backfire. Number 10, Girlhouse 2014. In an unprecedented move, Trevor Matthews' Canadian slasher movie Girlhouse kicks off with the killer's backstory and motives. No prizes for guessing that it all begins as a prank. In 1988, two girls prank an overweight boy nicknamed Loverboy, played by Isaac Faulkner, by having him drop his trousers on the promise of a kiss, only to humiliate him when he actually follows through. In retaliation, Loverboy kicks one of the girls from her bicycle and throws her off a bridge to her death. Thus begins the plight of an innocent and the rise of a villain. And therein lies the real tragedy of this prank, because while the initial consequences are certainly bad enough, it also endangers Loverboy's, now played by Slane, descent into becoming a repressed, sexually deficit adult who gets his kicks by watching women online and occasionally stalking them in real life. That's right, he's an incel, and in a time when the name and concept was just beginning to gain traction. Chances are Loverboy would have turned out this way regardless, but there's no denying that the ensuing carnage was sparked by this act of humiliation, as Loverboy stalks the titular girl's house, a compound full of cameras where girls act out viewers' fantasies, kind of like 2002's Demon Lover but with more consent and less prestige, and lays waste to multiple victims. Number 9, Candyman 2021. Nia DaCosta achieved the unexpected by bringing Candyman back from the grave in 2021, revitalizing the character with a new actor, a new time, and a new racial politics. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II's Anthony McCoy joins the hive and sinks his hook into gentrification and generational trauma, while all around him people refuse to believe Candyman is anything but a black myth. Amongst them are a troop of Gen Z high schoolers, who by this point really ought to know better. Far from the first to the proverbial chopping block, Candyman's death toll is rising when minor character Haley, played by Heidi Grace Ingerman, pranks her friends into saying Candyman 5 times in the mirror to try and scare them. And oh boy, does it go sideways real quick. In a genre-defining scene that led the marketing of the film, the girls are massacred one by one in the school bathroom, drawing together all of horror's most effective tools: off-screen kills, thumping doors, blood splatters, further mirror shots, and obscured images of the killer, with the gravest of consequences for everyone involved. Number 8, Tormented 2009. Tormented arrived at a time when ex-Alex Rider Alex Pettifer's stock was just beginning to plummet, and while the British high school set supernatural slasher won't have done him any harm, its lack of exposure meant many people didn't, and still haven't, seen it. So, for those of you who've been sleeping, Bradley, played by Pettifer, leads a troop of upper-year bullies whose penchant for perpetual humiliation knows no bounds. While many of the other school kids cop a bit of unwanted attention from the slick gang of psychopaths in training, it is unpopular, overweight, asthmatic student Darren Mullet, played by Calvin Dean, who takes the brunt of it. Not just one prank, but a continuous onslaught of pranks, hazing and bullying, including hiding his inhaler and making a website about him, lead Darren to kill himself, and the rest of the film is spent unpacking each of the ways his class toyed with him and let him down. But this is not a Ken Loach joint, and so rather than wallowing in the regret of what they've done, the bullies come face to face and hands to throat with their victim. Mullet returns from the grave as a vengeful spirit and takes the popular group apart one by one in various ironic, prank-inspired ways. Number 7, Ruin Me 2017. With an unknown cast and a high-concept meta premise, a slasher sleepout in the forest turns deadly when the happy campers start getting picked off for real, Ruin Me crept quietly through the back door in 2017, enjoying neither a cinematic release nor any publicity to speak of. And while it's not exactly horror gold, there are still a few surprises up its sleeve, not least the fact that the mayhem and bloodshed are all part of an elaborate setup. The slasher sleepout becomes all too real for reluctant protagonist and recovering addict Alex, played by Marcienne Dwyer, who feels like she has to fight for her survival while her friends and co-campers are picked off by masked maniacs. But the film's conclusion, it turns out that the apparent derailing of events had all been planned, and her boyfriend Nathan, played by Matt Delapina, was in on it all along. But for horror fans seeking some bona fide bloodshed, there's a final twist. The whole prank setup backfires at the very end of the film as Nathan pushes Alex a bit too far and she snaps, killing him with her sobriety necklace of all things. Number 6. Heathers, 1989. Heathers. It's the classic story of girl meets boy, boy kills girls, girl kills boy. Veronica Sawyer, played by Winona Ryder, has just about had enough of the popular clique of Heathers, Duke, McNamara and Chandler, she somehow finds herself a part of, and the arrival of trench coat-clad bad boy Jason Dean, played by Christian Slater, offers the opportunity to transgress and get her own back on Westerberg High's very own pre-plastics. JD and Veronica prank Heather Chandler, played by Kim Walker, by breaking into her house and mixing her a drink of orange juice and milk. Sure, it's elevator trapdoor, but this is the 80s. JD, a known misanthrope with a mysterious past and turbulent home life, also pours out a glass of bleach, and when Veronica accidentally mixes it up with the OJ and memory sap, he keeps stum. This fatal prank spells the end of Heather, and while it brutally backfires on Veronica, who is racked with guilt and remorse, it is just the beginning of JD's rampage. Revealed to be hell-bent on the destruction of not just the Heathers, but the football team, the staff, and the whole high school, he embarks on a path of chaos that sees him fall prey to his former flame in the finale. Number 5. The Final Girls, 2015. Hard to believe it's been almost a decade since meta-slasher The Final Girls sprayed across our screens. In the intervening years, we've had 2 new Screams, 2 Happy Death Days, and an array of inferior fumblings with the genre, but still no Final Girls sequel, despite the twist and tease ending of the original. While that arguably may be the film's most brutal prank, there is, in the words of Yoda, another. In Camp Bloodbath, the film within a film, slasher villain Billy Murphy, played by Daniel Norris, who winds up terrorizing the characters of both this fictional movie and The Final Girls, is put upon and bullied to the point of life-changing injuries and a dramatic personal transformation. During the summer of 1957 at Camp Bluefinch, the camp counselors pull a prank on young Billy, played by Eric Carney, by throwing firecrackers through the toilet door, burning him, scarring him, and leading to months in hospital. Here, he was able to ruminate on his mistreatment and develop an abiding hatred that fuels his subsequent murderous rampage. This has reverberations throughout Camp Bloodbath, but also leads to the maiming of the Final Girls' contemporary real-world characters when they become trapped in the fiction. There's a lot to digest, but to put it simply, no prank, no killer, no deaths, and yeah, okay, also no film. Number 4. Teeth, 2007. It's everyone's worst nightmare. You get lucky, you go home, you get some, and you wind up losing your genitals to a sharp-toothed vagina. What? Luckily for us, the film's protagonist Dawn, played by Jess Weixler, who also happens to be afflicted with the folkloric vagina dentata, the titular teeth, are only unleashed on those who are well and truly deserving of them: abusers, scoundrels, and sex criminals. A good Catholic schoolgirl, Dawn finds herself in an inexplicable situation where the teeth start sprouting. Approaching her classmate Ryan, played by Ashley Springer, she seeks comfort when her life falls apart and her new dental set is chomping off penises left, right, and centre. Not knowing all the ins and outs of her condition, Ryan plays it smooth, having secretly made a bet with a friend that he can coax her into bed. The pair do the dirty, grab 40 winks, and all is well. Except, of course, it's not. Having successfully duped her into sex, Ryan openly boasts about his prank-turned-prophet during a subsequent bout of intercourse with Dawn, and, well, her vagina gives him a little more, or strictly speaking, less than he bargained for. Number 3. The Butterfly Effect, 2004. Wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey sci-fi horror The Butterfly Effect takes the implication of its title to its logical extremes and beyond, looking down the barrel of Evan, played by Ashley Kutcher's, life as he flits back and forth in his own time stream and attempts to right the many wrongs of his and his friends' lives, to frequently disastrous consequences. For reasons better known to our easily pleased cousins across the pond, messing with the postal service is considered the gold standard of pranking in the US of A. As such, in the first section of The Butterfly Effect, Evan and his buds put a small explosive in someone's mailbox, only for a woman to come and check it, infant daughter in hand. Needless to say, they're both killed when it detonates, and the ripples of this event expand outwards across the lives of the perpetrators. No matter how many times Evan travels back to this prank, he can't seem to fix things, and every attempt to do so only gives rise to another misery, turning himself into a double amputee, turning his pal into a psychopath, killing his girlfriend. Well, you can't win them all. Number 2. Halloween Resurrection, 2002. Infamous for being among the worst of the sequels to John Carpenter's original Halloween, Resurrection changed tack from the typical setup of a massacre on an unsuspecting house, hospital, or Haddonfield. Valiantly attempting to bring the franchise into the 21st century and simultaneously sounding the series' death knell, it placed the focus on a reality show taking place in the series' main villain Michael Myers, played by Brad Laurie in this installment, Old House. As a result, the movie is remembered for just a few distinct elements, namely the limited appearance and swift death of original Scream Queen Laurie Strode, played by a long-suffering Jamie Lee Curtis at that point, and reality show producer Freddie, played by Busta Rhymes, a character famously panned by the Halloween fanbase, donning the Michael Myers mask before eventually beating the Shape with some outlandish kung fu moves. One of the honoured few to wear the inside-out Shatner mask, Freddy dresses up as Michael to scare the reality contestants, not realising the real Myers is back in town and stalking his old digs. As a result, Freddy's gambit winds up getting several of his housemates killed when they mistake the real deal for his sorry ass. Number 1. Zombieland 2009. Rivaled only by 2004's Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland is one of the all-time greats of the zomcom genre, sporting an all-star cast in Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, and taking us on a wild ride across a post-apocalyptic USA where the guns are plenty, the allegiance is fleeting, and the Twinkies are running out. As if that wasn't enough, the film also offers up the cameo to end all cameos, Bill Murray playing, you guessed it, himself. When the gang breaks into Murray's lavish LA mansion, they find the actor's fictional counterpart has been dressing up as a zombie and living a life not incomparable to the one he had before, minus any further obligatory cameos in the Ghostbusters franchise, of course. Tallahassee, Wichita, and Murray decide to take this opportunity to prank their fellow travelers, Columbus and Little Rock, by having Murray pretend to be an attacking zombie. Given, in typical Eisenberg fashion, how twitchy and anal Columbus has been throughout the journey so far, it shouldn't have taken much thought to figure out this would go awry. Needless to say, Columbus goes for his gun and hits the Caddyshack Kings full blast with a shotgun, proclaiming, "Oh my god, I can't believe I shot Bill Murray." Quite. That's everything for our list today, folks. What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you're following us on the various socials at What Culture Horror. You can find myself at Sean Ferrick as well. Whatever you do till I see you again, make sure that if you're gonna do a prank, will you just try and not get killed while doing it? It's not a big ask, really. You're awesome and you're wonderful. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.